flew by. It was so exciting. You know, I'm from the South, so I was really excited that Mike White wrote this part for me. It made me laugh so hard. I couldn't wait to like tackle it to the ground. And yeah, it was just a great, I loved it. I was really grateful. You know, the show is such a success, and Mike White writes character parts for actors, and I love that. I love playing characters, so I was so excited. You know, I've known Mike for I'd seen him around for 30 years, and we did independent movies together in the 90s and that whole time, and so I kind of felt like he was a kindred spirit. So yeah, it was really fun. I was really excited.
Natasha, what was your reaction when you were asked to come back and bring her back?
Belinda's back, baby! No, I was thrilled. It kind of happened over parts. When Mike came back to LA for the 2020 Emmys that were held in 2021 while he was shooting in Italy, he's like, do you want to grab dinner? And it was like, yeah, of course. And over dinner, he's like, you know, I'm not done with season 2, but I'm already thinking about season 3, and I think I might want to bring Belinda back. And I was just like, Mike, you know, I will follow you to the ends of the earth. But I didn't really hang my hat on it because as a writer and producer myself, I know nothing's real until it's real, and he hadn't even put pen to paper yet. But then when he did and he called back and he was just like, we're doing this, and I was like, let me get my passport ready. I was thrilled.
Carrie, what about for you? Initial reaction to receiving the scripts?
Oh, I can't do this. I have 2 children. Will my marriage survive? And it did. Yeah, my husband said, we'll make this work. And I think I suspected that the women were the sneaky heart of the piece, a very relatable story. And Michelle and Leslie had already been cast, so I knew that I was in very, very good hands. And I was thrilled to go off on an adventure like we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam, what about you? When you first got those episodes?
Well, an actor dropped out, but I remember before that there were some date issues. But Leslie told me about the monologue, and then Walt Goggins told me, and Leslie was like, "You gotta check this monologue. This monologue's gonna be cool." And then this actor dropped out, and I jumped in. Yeah.
No, but Sam, you didn't want to do it initially.
Well, I was worried I wouldn't be prepared because I had very little time to memorize the monologue. In fact, I joked about an earwig, and
right.
they had one prepared, and I didn't need it, but it was, yeah.
We will dive into that monologue. We will get there. We will get there. Absolutely. Jason, what about you? I mean, Timothy's obviously at a little different level than everybody else here. So what was that? What was your reaction?
I shit myself. I thought, I have no idea if I can do this. I will be the person that breaks the White Lotus because I thought, I don't have many words. I'm out of my head on drugs. I'm suicidal. I'm homicidal. Everybody else gets...
You did. You broke it.
Yeah, I did. I thought,
broke the back.
Everybody's going to be doing this wonderful naturalistic thing. I read the stuff that I knew Parker was going to be doing. It's going to be hilarious. And I related to the 3 women, the friend stuff, and I'm on this giant Shakespearean or Greek tragic, arc, and I'm gonna want to kill people or not kill them, and then they die, and then I gotta have this spiritual. I don't think I'm good enough, is what I thought. And then they went yes or no. I went, oh no, I mean yes, obviously yes. I just was excitedly scared. That's the truth. I was terrified in all the great ways that creative forces make you feel.
Absolutely. You just said you really related to the 3 women storyline. Did you guys all relate to different kind of storylines? Like, which ones did you guys tap into?
For me, it was Sam, obviously. For Frank.
Really steal out of yourself and Frank. Sam, who did you relate to?
Well, I related to all of them actually, because the monologue, what Mike did with the monologue is kind of summarizing the plight of the season, which is that it's very clever. It's the quest for enlightenment, spirituality, in conflict with selfishness, I think is what the season's about. I think that's what that monologue is about.
Yeah, I mean, we can continue talking about that. It just the headspace that you had to get into to do that monologue. Obviously, you said you didn't have that much time. How big of a challenge was that for you? What was that process like?
I was sort of on a monologue tear because I did a play on Broadway. I did a play with Lawrence Fishburne, and we had a monologue in that. And then I went to South Africa, and I was doing a movie where I had like 5 monologues, which is weird in a movie, but and then so I was sort of tuned up, so to speak, and then when I got to the White Lotus monologue, I was warmed up, so to speak, but there wasn't a lot of time to get ready for it. Yeah,
absolutely. Natasha, what was, for you, who did you relate to? Do you feel like Belinda was the journey that you related to the most?
I mean, I relate to all of them. I feel like in some ways, Belinda is a little bit of everything. And I think that because my storyline didn't really intersect with the others, my sort of moment to relate was when I was watching it at home with everyone else, and I could just see the DNA of who she is on a little bit of all the stories. But I love the women, I love the Ratliffs, I loved it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Parker, how much of Victoria do you relate to?
I really related to Amy Lou's character and Sarah Catherine's character. I felt like I was kind of the black sheep of the family who wanted to have a spiritual, I read Siddhartha, I read all these counterculture books as a teen. I was into Eastern religion and I grew up in the South. I was raised Catholic, so I had spiritual inclinations as a young person, as a teen. And then Amy Lou's character with Chelsea, I loved these guys, just dating these guys that you're just like, come on, get lighter, come on, wanting to lift people up. So I related to those parts more than the part that I played, which is fun to play a part that you're not that you don't have a lot in common with. Yeah, she's a black and white thinker, something's right or something's wrong. There's nothing yelling at your daughter because she wants to meditate, freaking out over that. It's kind of intense and not really, but I admire a woman like that. She has a lot of force, and anyway, yeah, so those are the parts that I think I related to the most.
Carrie, how about you? Were you relating to Laurie, or was there another character you related to more?
Oh gosh, sure. I think I related to Laurie when I was 27. She's a bit of arrested development, I'm afraid. But I think Sarah Catherine Hook's trajectory is much like Parker. I think I had spiritual inclinations. But when I really boiled it down, I just wanted the Virgin Mary to appear to me and make me special. And so I recognize our sort of, we have this desire to pretend it's shedding our Western comforts, but the reality of that is so confronting that we just buy things instead. And I'd like to feel that I was more on the Buddhist end of the spectrum, but I'm afraid I've been thoroughly indoctrinated.
Just say the thing about Mike's writing and the reason it took off the way it did is you can see the essential humanity in all of them. None of these characters are ciphers. However much when they first arrive you feel that you're alienated by them, the way that he writes and also the way that he directs, which I don't know gets as much attention as it should do, creates an atmosphere where we're rich, layered, complex human beings. In the end, all of them touch us and we can see ourselves in all of them, and he's in all of them.
Absolutely. I was going to say, Mike obviously is not here, but we have to give it up for Mike White because, of course, he is the writer and director of the episode. What is that process like? How much is he, what is that like day to day on set? What can you guys share about what that process is with him making sure that these scenes and really being part of the reason that these are coming out the way they are? I mean, Natasha, you have obviously the most experience, so what's that like on set?
Yeah, I mean, for me, working with someone who's also a writer-performer, it's like we're vibing on a different level, and he knows that I improvise, and so we'll get takes as written, and then he'll come over and just play. He can't help himself but say your line in the way that he's imagined it. And so, some actors would be like, is that a line read? But it's no, he's just he's got us all in his head, and so he's trying to find us, and then he gives it to us and allows us.
His line readings are pretty good.
Oh yeah, he knows what he's doing for sure. But we're very collaborative in the process before in the pre-production stage, and and I'm just a very much a people pleaser, so I'm like, you like Daddy? And he'll let me know when he likes it. If he's happy, I'm happy. That's how it usually goes.
The show is obviously, as a drama, it also is very, very funny, but it has very heavy storylines as well. Jason, Timothy's storyline is, like you said, I mean, he has a lot of dark stuff going
Didn't
on.
get a lot of gags, I think it's fair to say. Parker had most of
The
them.
worst of which is he's a fan of Duke. So
Shots fired. You know, you're not wearing the shirt today, I'm
I'll
surprised.
tell you, I have got it actually. A bunch of Duke people from Durham brought me Duke t-shirts recently, and I've got a whole selection that I'm wearing. But it's true that it's funny, but I remember we had a screening here in Los Angeles of the finale, and there was a huge crowd, and none of us had seen it. We'd seen the other episodes, but we hadn't seen episode 8. No one had seen it until we saw it with other people. And I remember vividly the scene where Sarah Catherine finally, she's waited 8 episodes really to act this so beautifully. She did it, where she confesses crying, I actually really want Egyptian cotton and I want organic food, and she did it fabulously. And she and Parker were sitting there, and I remember as Timothy feeling heartbroken, being crushed that I knew that I was going to have to kill her because because that's the best thing to do for these children and my wife who were going to face this terrible fall from grace. And I remember feeling just crushed as Timothy, and the camera pans to me and you see my face, and the whole audience burst out laughing. And I thought, you bastards, you heartless fuckers. And it was in that moment, not that I needed reminding, but just quite how brilliant Mike's writing is and how many levels it works on, because I was very upset, but that was hilarious for the people watching it.
Of course, as one of the people that were in that crowd that burst out laughing. I mean, it was very funny. The way that Mike did it was very, very funny. But I mean, I want to talk a little about those darker things, because there are certain episodes that are, and certain scenes that are a bit more heavy. Parker, I think of the beach scene of her walking in the tsunami. How do you kind of tap into that? How do you get into that mindset when this character has so many great quotes that are so funny and quotable, but also does have this different thing going on in her mind?
Yeah, I loved that dream. There was a colonial house in Phuket. And so Mike, when they were scouting, he had this idea that I would have this dream where I would see my father walking behind my husband. And I took this dream to, there are deeper things in Victoria that she may never come to terms with, that she may never see, and that she's kind of programmed in this, she's like boxed into this way of thinking that inside there's like all this dimension to who she is. So it gave so much mystery and it's just so much fun to kind of, I don't know. I get so out there when I work. There's a lot of water. There's a lot of fluid in that, and a lot of grief. I think she comes to the White Lotus in a lot of grief, actually, and she's self-medicating. And that just line between being dramatic and funny is so true. I'm funny when I'm serious a lot of times, and yeah, I think it's, anyway, what was your question?
You answered that.
Yeah, he gave us a lot, He gave us a lot. And that's what good writing does. So, yeah, I'm still thinking about her. Yeah, absolutely.
Carrie, I know you are shedding the White Lotus with this hair, but I do want to talk about your incredible monologue as well, because